Hi, I'm Joy.
Hi, I'm Lorraine.
And this is Girlish Gurus. And Lorraine, why are we here?
We're here to talk about mid-lifestyle topics for women who are 45 and older to help you live your best, healthiest, and most fulfilled life. We're also going to have lots of fun along the way.
So let's get started.
How are you? It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Lorraine.
I've
met you actually through your podcasts. I've listened to several of them, and I've really enjoyed them. Thank you.
Oh, good. It's wonderful to hear.
Makes me want to go on a retreat.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, we got one coming up.
Right.
We actually just recorded a really fun one today. I'm trying to get my laughing under control, you know?
We got it under control.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, right. But so we had a very good time recording for Everyday Macaroni. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, all right, I'm excited. Okay. Just let me know when you're ready to start.
Okay. I'm ready.
Are you? Are you really ready, Lorraine?
Oh, now Deborah, am I introducing you as D.H. Morris or Deborah?
D.H. Morris is probably easier for them to find me as far as the author goes, because there were so many Deborah Morrises who are authors.
Okay. When I read your bio, that's what I'll say. And in the show notes, we'll have that. But as we're talking, can I just call you Deborah then? Just as we're, okay.
It doesn't matter to me. That's what I'm used to.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay. After you start, I'll do the intro and then we'll get into it.
Okay. All right. And you're doing the first three and then we're going to go from there. Okay. All right. As you know, give me a little beat if you need to pause and if you stumble or whatever. And we've done it before, so I feel like you know what you're doing, right? Okay. All right. If everyone is ready.
Yep.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of Girlish Gurus. I'm Joy.
And I'm Lorraine.
Ooh, Lorraine, what are we doing today?
We have a very special guest today, and I'm very excited about this guest because I also have a story in my history. And so you actually have inspired me, Deborah. So today's guest is a globe-trotting grandma with a storyteller's soul and a love for powerful women in history. D.H. Morris is the author of The Girl of Many Crowns, a novel rooted in the 9th century, but pulsing with modern-day relevance. She's lived on 4 continents, raised a beautiful family, including, is it 11 grandchildren? 11.
Yes, 11.
Great. And pursued multiple degrees, and now she's rewriting the narrative of what it means to age boldly and creatively. You're going to fall in love with her insights, her passion for history, and her unforgettable characters. Welcome, Deborah.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
So, what drew you to the 9th century as the setting for The Girl of Many Crowns, and how did you capture the historical accuracy of that period?
Well, first of all, The Girl of Many Crowns is about the first princess of France, and she was actually on my genealogy chart. And my aunt gave me a copy of this genealogy chart when I got married, hoping that I would take over the reins as the family genealogist when she passed on. In a way, we really have, my husband and I. But when I looked at it, I thought, there's something wrong on my genealogy. I need to fix this because we have this 12-year-old girl, a princess, being married to a 50-year-old man, the King of Wessex. He is a widower. And then a year and a half, 2 years later, she's married to his son, who is 24. She's now 14. I thought, that's odd. How does that happen? And then about 2 or 3 years later, she's married to a count, the Count of Flanders, named Baldwin Ironarm. And I thought, this just doesn't happen like this. One of these is wrong, at least. And so I started delving in. And the more I researched, the more I realized this was a real story, and it was fascinating and kind of haunted me for several decades. I did start to gather research, not planning to write a book, but planning to share the story with my family. They loved the story, but then I kept thinking, why doesn't somebody write her story? And finally, during COVID, my husband pulled out the old research and said, I still have this 25 years later. And I said, oh, I guess if I'm going to see the story written, then I'm going to have to do it myself because nobody else is writing it. So I felt like her story deserved to be told. I felt that she was a very courageous young woman. And I felt that the man she ultimately ends up with, Baldwin Ironarm, was a very special young man too. And I wanted to write their story. Originally, it was to share it with the family. I wrote it more as a history book. I put in footnotes, annotated everything. And because I didn't know about the 9th century, I would write a little and then I would get to a part where I don't know what they wore. And I would have to go read a book or two on costumes, what they wore during that time. Same thing over and over again. Their mode of transportation, how they moved from house to house, what the kings did, what they ate, how they celebrated their holidays. I knew nothing about it, and I did not feel comfortable making it up. So by the end of the book, I felt like I had almost earned a master's degree in early medieval history, because now I felt like I was in the 9th century and I understood how things worked, their politics, everything, the scandals that were happening, their trials, the wars, the Viking threats, all of that. And it was a very rewarding experience. And since you have a story, I feel like you need to write your story that you've got. I think everybody has several ancestors who have fascinating stories, more interesting than fiction, and really could be of inspiration to our younger generation.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
and even
for
an
sure.
inspiration to women in our age group right now, because some women are looking for a new passion, a new inspiration, something to put their focus on and to go back. I know a lot of people do the genealogy. I was one of them too. Found many relatives all over the world. And so to have that connection to somebody in your past with such a rich history, I mean, you could tell you did a lot of research, incredible research on this book. So how did you intertwine like the historical events with the factual things that you knew and kind of combining the emotional part of it and all of that?
That was an interesting decision. I had to just take all the real events that happened and try to place myself in that situation and say, how would I feel? I think it helped having been in theater when I was younger. You learn to take on a role and you're taught to just become that person and try to imagine what they're thinking, not judge them, but just imagine how it feels to be in that situation. And so that was generally my approach. For each character, I kind of slipped into that role naturally as an actress and thought, if I were this person, why would I be doing this? The most logical answer to me is what I wrote, what made the most sense to me. When there were gaps in major events, I filled them in with, because it covers 7 years in the formation of Europe, even. And when there were, 6 months gap in what happened, I researched, let's say, how a Christmas celebration was celebrated in that country during the 9th century. And I found a lot of material from that. And then I would just put my character, because I'm sure they celebrated Christmas or Easter. and things like that. There were so many different rich traditions and cultural things that I found that I wanted to share. There were also interesting little tidbits that I found out about the individual characters that I really enjoyed trying to work those into scenes so that it could flesh out the character and make them as real as I possibly could and as true to that time and that person as I possibly could be.
That's incredible. What was the most challenging scene or chapter to write?
The most challenging scene for me was when Judith is with her second husband and he's being very emotionally abusive to her. Now, with her second husband, we know a few things about him. And this is why I determined that he was probably emotionally abusive. Maybe he was physically as well, but I did not include that. But we know that he was very selfish. We know that he was power hungry. We know that he tried to steal the kingdom from his father, that he refused to allow his father to, or Judith, his father's wife, to ever enter his part of the kingdom when it was divided. We also know that he turned people against his father. We know that when he died, which was not long after he took the throne, maybe a few years, that his part of the kingdom, which was perhaps the shining star of Wessex, was already in decline, and there was corruption and there were bad things going on. So from that, and the fact that she decided that she would rather be in prison for the rest of her life than marry again, led me to assume that he was at least emotionally abusive. And I didn't like writing that because it was painful to step into those characters. Mm-hmm. But I felt I had to, and I felt like that was my way of explaining why she refused to marry for a third time.
Well, there's a couple things here. I'm the history major. My undergraduate degree was in history. And so for me, this was, a thrill to get to read. And I do want to point out, could you imagine being 12 and married to a 50-year-old man? Then 2 years later, you're married to his 24-year-old son. And then here you are a couple of years after that, contemplating getting married again. And I personally do think that, yeah, you should get a pass. If you don't want to get married, and if you're willing to go to jail rather than get married, yes, as a woman, you should get to do that. I could not imagine being 12. And this is a true story. I had to keep reminding myself, this is a true story. Not only that, she is the first consecrated queen of Europe. Yeah. So she's the first queen who can actually rule in her own right, really. And she paved the way for all the other queens that came after, including Queen Elizabeth. So very, very historically interesting. And one of the things I found most interesting is that you really go do a deep dive into the clergy, into the cardinal who wrote that ceremony that they are still essentially using today when they are crowning royalty. That's amazing. Yeah. Okay, I could go on and on about that. That's where I really get kind of a little nerdy. So
I do too, because I love history too. So little details like that are really exciting.
It's very just powerful to think about how you even during the pandemic, which I know you were doing a lot of this work when you were unable to travel. So you were doing it from resources you could find online, which I know that's not easy. That's got to be tricky. Yeah. And going this far back, you've got to concern yourself with translations and things like that. I mean, that had to be tricky in and of itself.
Definitely challenging. The one place that I could go was the library, but then you had to space yourself 6 feet from everybody else, and you had to wear masks, and people couldn't come up and help you. And my husband and I would go to our local university library, and we would try and search through the stacks I got a library card as a guest. I paid for it, but for some reason it wouldn't let me search the records online. We literally went to the stacks and would search every book looking for
Wow.
what we needed to find. But if anybody came by, we had to move apart because we couldn't talk to each other. We couldn't stand by each other.
Wow.
It
It's
was
unbelievable.
crazy.
How long did it take you to write the entire book?
About a year. And
That's
there was some, like the information about Brittany, which was a part of Francia at that time. There was nothing. And then I found in an annotation and a bibliography, I found the name of a book that was out of print that talked about 9th century Brittany. And I thought, I have to have this. I don't know how Arispo, who was so-called king of Brittany at the time, how did he die? They just said he died. And so I thought, I can't make it up. So I ordered that through our local library. They found it in a library somewhere and they sent it in their special collections and they sent it to us. So I put the book on hold for 2 weeks until it came. And when it did, it had the full story and it was so well written. But that is kind of the way that this whole thing developed, because I was just going to do it year by year. That was my intent, was to trace these 7 years that I felt were very pivotal, not only in her life, but in the formation of Europe itself.
Really, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What an incredible story. Like,
It is amazing.
And that's in your heritage.
Yes. Well, and in a lot of people's too. Can you imagine how many descendants you have by now?
Yeah.
It's just that you haven't traced it back that far.
Right. Yeah. I wanted to ask what your favorite part of the book was for you to write.
When Judith and Baldwin finally confess their feelings for each other and then arrange her escape.
Mm-hmm.
That really spoke to me.
Yeah.
I was happy for her.
Yeah, it was a very sweet moment. Yes. And you're on the edge of your seat a little bit. You're like, when the character, the groom, he's basically a groom, right? He manages the horses. Oh, I don't want to give anything away. I'm not sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. No spoilers here. If you want to know how this comes about, then you need to get the book and check it out. Yeah. But it's a very good, interesting edge of your seat moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One interesting thing too for me was that we had visited Bruges, which is in Belgium right now. Beautiful little city. Oh, has canals. You can ride boats. It's just gorgeous. And I had always been fascinated by this statue of bear of Bruges everywhere throughout the city. And I thought, why is this so important? And then when I realized the connection with Judith and Baldwin, I was thrilled. And I couldn't leave that out. It sounds stranger than fiction even, but that's what the people of Bruges believe happened, and it's in there.
I had forgotten about that. I'd heard about the statue of the bear before, but I had separate and apart from reading A Girl of Many Crowns, but I had forgotten about that. So as soon as you're starting to talk about it, I'm putting 2 and 2 together and remembering. That's pretty interesting.
And they have Bear of Bruges chocolates. They have Bear of Bruges beer. It's
wow.
Beer of Bruges. That's pretty funny. Interesting.
Now you know the story behind it.
Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm.
So what do you hope people get from reading your book? From Judith and Baldwin's story?
Well, I hope they realize that true love can win sometimes. I hope they realize that standing for what you believe and becoming a person in your own right, because we see her grow from this child who is a pawn to a woman who can take a stand even against the most powerful king in their world at that time. It's doable. You can stand up to power. And I hope they derive some faith from it. I hope they learn history from it. I hope that someday they'll write their own story of their own ancestors, because there are so many wonderful stories out there waiting to be told. And if you want to write and you love to write, why make it all up? Why not tell an amazing story of some amazing people who happen to be in your family?
Yeah.
That is very true. And I think one of the things that I take away from this story is just how strong we as women are. I mean, again, I point to not one, not two, but three husbands and everything she goes through to get to that point in her life, an overbearing father and a husband and all of those things. And absolutely being a pawn. I mean, we as women, we can relate to so many of those things. This isn't the he woman man haters club, but at the same time, we can't sit and have a realistic conversation about our reality and leave out the fact that women are treated generally as second-class citizens and have been for the longest time. One of the things we talk about a lot on this podcast is how we're going through menopause and how the medical community has largely been dismissive of that. And I really feel like there is a strong connection there because Judith is summarily dismissed over and over again and still manages to land on her feet. So for me, I think about what I was like when I was 12 years old.
Oh my
and
gosh.
there's a moment there where I just have to remind myself, it's possible to transcend a lot of things in your life. And we as women are called upon to do that regularly. And so there's a certain backbone in Judith that I hope people who need women, especially who need that kind of encouragement, that kind of little push to remind you that, hey, you know what? Women really are the stronger sex. Don't tell all the men, but it's the truth. We really are. So I hope that that's something that a reader can take away from this story, is that just how strong we really are. And we may not appear that way, but strength is just like happiness. It's inside work. And so that for me is a powerful message from the story as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think women have a spiritual and mental and emotional strength that men don't.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, they've
true.
got the brawn. They can outlift us, and they've got a powerful punch, and we need both. And maybe they were a good combination, Judith and Baldwin. And I think if you've got both together, it's unbeatable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Appreciate each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you saw this become a mini series.
Ooh, this is a great one, especially because, and we haven't talked about this much, especially because of your acting background. Okay, I want to hear this.
Okay.
Yeah.
What aspect of the story would you be the most excited to see brought to life?
Oh, wow.
See, now I thought you were going to say, who's going to play Baldwin Ironarm?
The only actor I've ever envisioned in this was actually for King Athelwulf, her first husband. And I always thought Mel Gibson would be a good, old, kindly, battle-hardened warrior.
Mm-hmm. Mad Max. That's right.
Yeah.
But, I would be thrilled to death to see her story told, no matter how it was told. I just want people to be inspired by it, because I feel the same way you do, Joy. When I first heard about this 12-year-old girl and what she went through, and then she stood up to her father and said, no, I've done enough. It really touched my heart.
Yeah.
And it just kind of called to me for generations almost, until I had to just put it down on paper so that other people could be inspired by her as well.
I have to wonder what she would think if she knew, hear her, I don't know I can't remember how many times
30, 32, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say 39, but it's in the 30s.
It could be 35. I've forgotten too. I keep telling my husband I have to go back and count all these connections.
But think about that for a second. I mean, what would she think sitting in her little stone chamber, embroidering her altar cloth, and hear a descendant so far in the future? Imagine that.
Yeah.
I that just kind of gives me chills thinking about that.
It is very interesting, isn't it? The thought that our descendants may somehow, sometime, be inspired by something we did.
Oh, mine will be embarrassed by the finger puppets. I'm just saying. Anyway.
Love it.
You never know.
We'll see.
Gosh. Joy. You're so funny.
Hey, Lorraine, don't forget, it's time for us to schedule our Lifeline screening appointments. They're 5 simple tests to help us keep on top of our heart and bone health, which is important for women over 45.
Yes, Lifeline Screening has been the premier provider of preventative health screening for over 30 years. In that time, over 10 million people have had screenings to detect their risk of stroke, cardiovascular disease, and other chronic illnesses. Lifeline Screening can provide meaningful benefits for your body and mind, and that's why they're committed to delivering accurate results and recommendations that could give you a healthier advantage in your everyday life, such as early detection of serious conditions, prevention of disease progression, peace of mind so you can enjoy life, savings with more affordable screenings, and no insurance required.
Yep, and don't forget, by using the link in the show notes of this episode, you get a special offer available to Girlish Gurus listeners, so make sure and schedule your appointment.
Get peace of mind now. Here's to your good health.
Okay, I was going to say, finally, what advice would you give someone like me or other listeners out there about pursuing their story, their historical story of their ancestor? Or
not just that, as someone who's over 45.
Yeah.
And a woman who you found so many second acts. I mean, you've done so many things in your life. So how do you advise someone who, like us, we are embarking on a new chapter? How would you advise them to move forward?
I think you have to just think about it as, what am I going to lose, really? If I do this, there's a chance that this story might speak to others and help them and encourage them. If nobody else, maybe my family. And if I don't do this, then it stays hidden still and may die with me because I'm the only one who spent the time to research it. So I think it's really worth pursuing. I'm not sure what era you're talking about with your ancestor.
A lot closer.
What was that? Yeah,
I'm a lot closer. My grandmother. Yeah.
Most people, they would talk maybe about the Second World War or the Civil War or something. It is unusual to go back as far as I did. It's just her story just spoke to me and wouldn't leave me alone. Maybe she's on the other side just saying, write my story.
I was actually going to say that she may have been guiding you and actually encouraging you, giving you the little push that you needed to write the story.
I felt like it because she wouldn't leave me alone. But maybe your ancestors too. And listen to those voices. I would encourage you to try to take on each character and not judge them, even the ones that are maybe not the most pleasant characters.
Controversial ones.
Yes, the controversial ones. I still attempted to stand in their shoes for a while and to think, why is he acting this way? What is making him motivated to do this? And just take it on from an actress's standpoint and go that route. That's how I did it anyway. And it worked for me. Another thing that I did, because probably also from the acting background, I like to visualize things. So my weird way of writing was I would often go to sleep, putting in my mind the scene that I knew came next, and try to visualize it and dream about it. And when I woke up early in the morning, it was as if it was already there. Our subconscious can do a lot when there's no distractions around. And so I don't know if that's dream writing or whatever.
Yeah, they call it the morning pages. Is that what it was referred to as, right? The
I've
writing.
heard that.
You get up in
Yeah.
the morning, you write down your thoughts before you're even like fully awake.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of times at 4 a.m., all of a sudden I'm awake, don't want to wake the husband, get my computer and open it so that I can type, but he can't hopefully wake up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I know that when I was on your website examining everything and reading everything, it said something about a prequel that that might be in the works. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I've only gotten a couple of chapters into it, but Judith was named for her grandmother, Judith, who also had a very interesting story. And in the 9th century, they just didn't write about women unless they did things that were unusual.
Yeah, extraordinary yeah.
And Judith's grandmother, when she was in her probably 21-ish, we don't have an exact birth date for her, but this is what historians kind of generally agree, that she was either late teens, but most think early 20s. She married Louis the Pious, who was the son of Charlemagne. Louis was a widower. He was in his 40s, so there wasn't as big a difference, but there was still a substantial difference in age, and already had 3 grown sons. And he had decided, after a close call with his own life, that he needed to kind of separate this kingdom out between his 3 sons so that when he died, they wouldn't be arguing over it, because he had inherited all of Charlemagne's empire. Well, his wife dies, and he's feeling very lonely, and his counselors are afraid because some have taken the side of one son, some have taken the side of the other, and they're afraid, because he is so pious, that he is going to enter a monastery and just, abdicate, say, okay, you've got your little divisions, just go to it. And they were afraid that there was going to be chaos, perhaps war. So they convince him to allow them to have what is called a bride show. And this bride show is actually very similar to our Miss America beauty contest.
Here she comes. Miss America.
Exactly. 9th century reality show.
I bet there was no swimsuit competition, though.
Yeah, exactly. I wondered. Well, I'm not going to go there, but
yes,
there are some interesting accounts from the Byzantine bride shows that were kind of contemporary with that where at one point the mother of the emperor went in and wanted to see all the women in the bath before he decided which ones move forward.
Sounds like my mother-in-law. I'm just saying, no.
This was not the case with this one, as far as we know. But he sends out an invitation, or they send out an invitation to all the nobles in the empire who have eligible daughters, that they can bring their daughters in to Eilashpahal in Aachen, Germany now, to the palace for the king to select a bride. And Judith was selected for her intelligence, her beauty, and her musical talent. And when she gets pregnant, there's tensions rise because this empire has already been divided between the older sons, or at least in name, but she has a daughter. So the first child is a girl, but then they know that she can have a baby. She has a second child who turns out to be our young Judith's father, King Charles. And that's when civil war breaks out. And they are trying to destroy her. They are doing everything. They bring lawfare against her. They accuse her of all kinds of things. They
get the lawyers involved. The lawyers, yes. Everything goes downhill from there. Yes.
Trial by ordeal, everything to try to destroy her and her child. And interestingly enough, the book, The Girl of Many Crowns, starts, Charles is still being threatened by his older brother, half-brother, Louis the German. So it kind of sets all that in motion. And she has to do everything she can to protect her son and what he can inherit from his father. So I found her also a very inspiring person and very strong. Mm-hmm. I guess I like strong women.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Strong women. We are all about that around here. That's right. And if you do have to write the Miss America brideshow scene. Yes.
Do you want to be in it, Joy?
Well, no, I don't want to be in it. My mother-in-law might want to be in it, and she's from the right time period. No, I'm kidding about that. I probably have to edit all that part out. I don't know. I got family that listens to this. So I'm interested to hear how, when that book comes out, that I'm interested to hear specifically in that part.
Yeah.
Well, there is one conversation, and not from that particular bride show, but I'm going to use it in this one, of what it's so typical because it's so like what those competitions are today, that one of the elite young women is telling all the others, basically, I'm not here to make friends, and you guys can all just go home because, you know,
I'm going to win.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's kind of like The Bachelor.
The Byzantine one, which happened just a little prior to this bride show.
The medieval bachelorette. Yeah.
Yes. So people haven't changed. We're still the same. We still have the same passions and desires and prejudices.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, okay. So I'm excited to hear about that book. So please let us know when you get to the point. Any
dates on the horizon, or are you still in the midst of working on it?
I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
But I'd like to run a working title by you, and you can tell me if you can come up with a better one, because I always stress over titles. But the working title I have is The Empress Who Would Not Be Broken. So if you come up with a better one, I would love it.
It's kind of interesting.
Well, let me marinate on it. Let me put my
and email
subconscious
if you
on
come
that.
up with something.
Okay. All right, I'll think on that. Lorraine, you're actually pretty good at that kind of thing too.
I'll be thinking on it too.
But we did come up with the title of The Hot Flash for your newsletter.
Yeah, that's right.
Love it.
That's right.
We're extra good at that.
Yeah.
Now I got the laughs again.
Okay.
All right. So, Deborah, one of the things that we do when we have fantastic guests like yourself who have just done incredible things, we wind up the episode by asking this question: what 3 things would you tell your younger self so you can share more of your philosophy with our listeners?
Wow. What 3 things would I tell
you? Didn't see that one coming, did you?
No, I did not. I would say, be careful whom you marry. Research their family. I
Good
did
one.
not, and I lucked out, but man, was it,
It could be a problem.
Yeah.
yes, it
Yes.
could be a big problem. And another one is when you have kids, you need to pick your battles and don't expect perfection from them. Let them know that they are loved, and that is the most important thing. And they'll turn to you and you can help them get through things in life. Sometimes I think with the oldest ones, we tend to overcorrect because we're so afraid if we don't, they're going to turn out to be,
I was the experiment.
yes, you're afraid they're going to turn out to be some serial killer or something. And usually they figure it out. I wish I had known that when I had my first two kids, because they always feel like I was so hard on them. And then they said, you weren't hard at all on the younger two. You let them get it.
Right. Youngest of 4. So
It took
I can see.
practice.
Yes.
And third is never stop learning and enjoying learning new things in life, because there's always stuff out there that is so exciting
Yes.
to discover.
That's
I love
perfect.
that.
Perfect.
Wow. Doesn't get any better than that.
Tell all our listeners where they can find your book and more about you, and maybe any website or social media links.
I wish that I were better with social media. I'm not, and that's one of my goals, is to try to do better on that. You can go to newclassicspublishing.com. You can also buy the book on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and anywhere you can basically find books. And there are 3 versions of the book. There's the paperback, there's the Audible on Amazon Audible, and then there is an ebook also available. So whichever format suits you best.
And we, of course, will put all the links in the show notes so it'll be easy for everyone to find them. So who does the Audible reading? Did you do
I did the Audible reading.
Yay. Awesome.
And it was a challenge because my voice doesn't sound like a man's, and there are a lot of men in this, but I used my acting background to try to get into each character and try to make them separate. If it sounds like it's slow, I learned that you can speed up Audible, because some people said, no, this is just the right speed for me. Some said it's a little slow, turn it up faster. But it is kind of a complex book, especially at first, with all the new terminology, with the history. So maybe the fact that I'm speaking not as quick, I'm not a real fast speaker, you can tell that. So
And there's and there's a lot of names like Hinkmar and etc. and the Wittenagamut. Yes, all of those. Yeah, there's a lot of words in there. So yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
That's great, because there's so many people. I know my daughter, for one, she doesn't have time to read a lot with raising 3 children, so she loves to just like listen to books while she's doing stuff. So I will definitely recommend it to her. Well, we so appreciated having you on. We look forward to the prequel, and
Yes.
we'll be back to talk about that and about the prior Judith, the earlier Judith.
yes.
Judith numero uno. Yes.
Yes.
That's not good for a title, just so you know. Yeah, no. Okay, well, thank you so much, Deborah, for coming on. It has been a delight. It really has. And again, yes, we do want to hear about that. And let us know, keep us posted. Look for us on your social media. Yes, I know.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
We're
working on it too.
Yes, we're working on it too. But as we wind up, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's supporting us and listening. Please give this video and this episode a like, a share, and subscribe to all of our platforms. And stay tuned, because we have so much good stuff coming. And yeah, I think for today, it doesn't get any better than that. So thank you all for listening and for your support. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Mwah. All right. One really big smile for the thumbnail. Okay. And I thought of a possible kind of title. Okay. you should factor in the crown. So maybe like the Iron Crown, the Empress who could not be broken.
That's a subtitle. Okay.
Right. You see what I'm saying? The Girl with Many Crowns, the Iron
Yes.
Crown. Something
Okay.
like that.
Stick with the crown. I didn't come up with that initial title. Somebody else did for me. And I thought, thank you.
Well, it's a good title.
It is
The Girl with Many
It is
Crowns.
a very good title. Yeah.
It does.
Anyway,
it does reflect her different crowns that she wore as princess and queen.
Right. And first consecrated queen. Yes.
Yes.
Also, I know you're not on social media, but I did put a little clip of the Everyday Macaroni podcast, and I make little funny cartoon type things. And I made you into a Viking princess.
Wonderful. I love it.
Very funny.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. It's been so much fun.
It has been fun. Please keep in touch. We want to hear how you're doing.
Yeah.
All right.
It was my pleasure to meet you.
It's great meeting you, Lorraine.
Yeah. All right. You'll have to join us on a retreat.
Yes.
Oh, yes. I will.
We'll send you a link.
That's right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Girlish Gurus. We hope you'll join us next time for more fun and inspiration. Be sure to check the description of this episode for links and information about the topic, and you can find us on our social media platforms starting with Instagram, Facebook, and now including YouTube. You can find us by searching Girlish Gurus, and you can also check out our website, girlishgurus.com, for more information on us, our projects, books, and our growing community.
And don't forget to download this episode, give it a good review, and share it with your girlfriends. We would also love to hear from you in the comments, because the more interaction we get, the more episodes we can post. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.